probably give a few more minutes for the other students to arrive, and then we'll start our class. Stay tuned. Thank you. This morning, did all you have a good night's sleep last night? Can you see my screen? If you cannot, please let me know.
Good morning, Moshe.
Can you all see?
We can see.
Good morning. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining our second day of QA engineering slash Java Asset class. And I know it was a pretty tough day yesterday. We provided a lot of materials. But one thing that I would like to kind of make it clear to you guys that the materials that were given to you just for your knowledge to learn, you don't have to just kill yourself to kind of memorize all that. But this the reason that we're providing all the information that you're going to need. Either like there's a two-step process. The first step is like whenever you're done with your class, the entire course, the interview session and stuff like this. So for the interview, those of you who working in a real world, you know that when you go to the recruiter, there's a lot of requirements that put it in, which is half of it or most of it is not, don't make any sense. So therefore, the recruiter is going to be asking these questions like, what is SDLC, what is software testing, those kind of stuff, like, basic knowledge that they would like to go through before even they set up a formal interview. Therefore, you're going to need those information. Plus, it'll also help you to understand when you work in a real environment. But honestly, do you need to implement that? No. There's a team. There's an entire team there, team effort. So you don't have to do anything by yourself. Most of the stuff's going to be done by the others, and as a tester, you're going to be participating in there. So don't get scared by looking at all these materials and stuff. But these are the information, yes, needed. If you know it, that'll be helpful. I can hear the echo sound. If you can mute yourself, whoever just joined, I appreciate it. Thank you. So as I was saying, that don't get overwhelmed by these all these materials. Whenever you get a chance to learn and plus go through it and kind of set up in your mind that how you would like to kind of see it by looking at the documents and a real picture, so that it will make sense. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through the recapping some of the stuff that we have discussed yesterday. What is software testing? The software testing is a process that if you execute any of the business process that requires that is the testing, like you're executing an application to get expected results, kind of verifying and validating that what is expected and what is requirement. And that is basically the testing. Why software testing is necessary? As I mentioned, that there's a huge risk involved. There's a life and death situation, financial loss, and so on and so forth. Therefore, testing is necessary. So if there's any mistakes on the software that can lead to death or lead to huge financial loss on financial industries, so therefore it's needed and very important. Nowadays, technologies are used, softwares are used for each and every company using it. So therefore, the testers needed to do the testing. SDLC, how the software being developed, there's a software development life cycle that we discussed yesterday. So within the software development life cycle, there's a testing phase involved in it. So software development life cycle is important to know that what is the cycle life cycle for software development. So these are the common questions going to be asked by recruiters or the interview process. So better to know it. And at the end of today's session, we're going to have some of the homework given to you guys. We're going to upload in your in the Google Drive as we sent out some emails last night. Sorry for the delay that we had to set up our Google Drive and add you all to that Google Drive, so that's the way you can get it. So we had to do it properly, and it is time consuming adding all of you on that drive and kind of sharing the documents. So hope everybody received the email, and if you can go set up your Google Drive, you should be able to access all the materials that we have provided to you, and also the class video for yesterday. So if anything that you want to see on that video that you have missed, you can review that. Software testing lifecycle, as we have discussed that yesterday, it is also important to know that what is the testing lifecycle, what it requires, and what is in there. So you can go over kind of review and understand the material, so you'd be better. You'll be in better position when you join a job, so you know exactly what you're doing and what needs to be done. So most of the time that under the software testing life cycles, a lot of stuff that you don't have to get involved. Most of the time, like if you are one-man tester in the team, there might be some that must have some responsibility involve you that you may have to do it. So okay, 1 second. Let me get a message. All right, I'm going to open up the Google Drive for you guys to kind of show where we have our students' material. Let me open up the drive. Okay, bear with me, guys, while I'm opening up the Google Drive. Okay, I hope everybody can see the folder that we have. I've opened the Google Drive. So basically, this is the student folders that the classes that we have. You'll receive an email, and we have shared you the link. So we have everyone. If you look over to the right, you can see everybody's name on there that we have shared our folder with. So you should be able to access any materials under those folders. Okay, this is for today's class, so you should have the materials available to you already. If you can open up your materials, maybe on one of the monitor, and you can look at the look at it view it, or as we're going through the materials, you can kind of see it yourself on your monitor too. Okay, so here's everyone that we have added you. So yeah, this is the folder that you guys gonna have a share. Anything that each class would have a folder by the date, and we're gonna be sharing that, so you should have the access to that folder. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and minimize it and go to the topic. Okay, so we have talked about the SDLC, STLC yesterday. So today's syllabus, actually, we're going to be covering up a test plan, test cases, requirement traceability metrics, defect log, and test analysis report, which is at the end, like some places for TAR, like in a short form TAR, or TASR, test analysis summary report. So depending on the company who call what, but these are all same, nothing different. Okay, let's start with the test plan document. What is test plan? As I mentioned yesterday, test plan, it falls in under software testing lifecycle, and test planning is done after requirement analysis being done. So after requirement analysis for the testing's been done, then we decide to create a test plan based on the clear requirements. So when the requirement is clear and understood by both parties, the testing team, the developers, and the business owners and business analysts, then we proceed to create a test plan. So every project, everything has a you have to do planning for everything pretty much, even though your daily life, living, daily needs, that you do have some sort of planning that you do, and writing those and capturing those in a format, it's called a test plan document. So when you're documenting all this plan that you have in your head, or how you're going to proceed, how you're going to do, that's basically a test plan. And when you're writing it in a document, it becomes a document. So test plan documents templates, basically each and every company, they have their own how they would like to. So the basic for the basic understanding that I have provided some templates, that I have provided 2 different templates for you to look at it. It probably would not make any sense, but when you start doing it, and it'll make sense. So this is one of the templates that I'm sharing with you, basically how it's been written. So as a tester, if you're joining in a new team and a new development team, and you're the only tester, you may have to do that. So it's better to learn how to format it and follow one of these formats, and you can just create what needs to be put in. So you just add based on your need. Most of the company, most of the projects, if you're joining that running project that already is established, and you just joined, so you don't have to worry about the test plan. It's been done. Template's going to be there. Test plan going to be there. If you want to look at it, you can ask the team. They'll share with you. You can go through it, and you can modify needed to. So templates are available actually each and every company, but any new company, like I said, they might just ask, hey, can you write a test plan? We don't have any. So you can kind of design it the way that I have given you, or you can find some other templates and incorporate into that. So this is one of the template that I created for the Center for Medicaid and Medicare. It's a government the project that's been done through the different companies. So I choose I can grab that one and probably kind of give you overview on that one. So test plan template basically it says the test plan. You can write the test plan right there, and you write down what for what project or what agency or what agency there, and then you can write down the details of what is that system for. Then you would have a contract number. Maybe you need to mention that what contract and what task order and stuff like that. So I mean that will come from the team. If you need to know it, you can add those onto that template. Then also you can write down and declare here that it is an internal document or it's a public document. So if it's an internal document or public document, it can be declared here. Also, if it's just office use only, then the declaration can go over here, saying that office use only, cannot be shared, whatever the company or the group prefers, or their rules, based on their rules. The history, revision history, you just write down the name and the plan, which is like if it's the one first, then you write as you modify it. You can write down on each step on that table. That table shows that what version was done and when, and who was the author and who has made a modification to that template or the plan. So that kind of records over here, and also the approval commitment, which is going to be here. So these are the people who are going to be approving the document. So their signature is going to be there. The project manager, program manager, the quality support group. So their names like going to be on that document. So that kind of shows that everybody's involvement and everybody looked at it and approved it to go with that plan. And here's a table of contents that you put in the purpose of the test plan. Systems background, it kind of describes the systems background on that system background paragraph, and then scope, limitation, and glossaries. So these are the table of content that what you put on there on the document itself, and you capture that on a table of content. So it kind of gives you the overview of what is in there. So as you go farther down, introduction here, then the purpose, what purpose of this, the document and the system, and also the system background. It can write down any details what it does and what it's for. Then again, you also describe the systems here, that what languages was used and what the technology was used for the system, and what is that for, and stuff like that. So it can write it on the table, basically log in and describing more about the application, about the system, about the technologies being used for developing that system. Okay, so in the scope here, that also given an example, so you write down the scope of the system here, and write down exactly what and how it's been done, and what would view what it needs to be shown on the system, what they're expecting out of that system. So limitation, if there's any limitation to that system, that what browser can be used, what system can be used, what cannot be used, only maybe compatible to IE, maybe not Chrome, or maybe not Firefox. So those kind of stuff kind of declaring in there, so the systems develop, so they understand and that what it be viewed on, like based on the requirement. So the requirement says like, should use IE, not Safari. Maybe this all, we need to declare that on there. So, it is captured and documented. So that is matching our requirements basically of the limitation. Yeah, and a glossary, you basically write down a breakdown of what technology is being used and those stuff and what are these. So kind of giving an explanation what's in there, so that the reviewer or whoever looking at the document, so they have better understanding of what is this. Like what if somebody don't know what is C sharp, maybe, so you're basically telling them this is an object-oriented programming language, and the others also CMS, you just break it down to like details, names, Center for Medicaid and Medicare. So in a glossary, you write down all these short names, short forms, and like broader explain name down, and then you go to the requirement traceability metrics and kind of describe the requirement traceability metrics on there. Test approach, test level, test levels, unit testing, software. So all of this, like these are the one that the template is created for you to kind of go through and put in what needed in what areas. So you may not need some of the areas that, so you don't use it, take it out of there, and you can modify the test plan. The environment, the test environment needed. So what is that environment? And this is what we're gonna that as testers gonna need most, and what they make sure that this environment is set up correctly. And also we have to know exactly by requirement that what environment they have given us and what environment that we're testing on. Now, for example, if they give us like, if they specifically say on the requirement that testing needs to be done on IE 11 version, and if we're testing on IE 9, and there would not be a valid test because there might be some differences on the code that may not be compatible with IE 9 versus IE 11. So you need to kind of make sure that when you're doing the testing, that the environment is described on what needed to be tested on, that you have that environment available for you. On the schedule, basically, you describe what the schedule, the time frame for the testing, and all that. So you capture on this paragraph right here, test documentation, what documentation we're going to be providing and stuff like that, and what needed to provide, or what document we're going to be creating out of that testing process. And test deliverables. So at the end, test deliverables include test cases, procedures, test report, and test plan, requirement traceability metrics, and others that needed or was created during the testing process. So these are the ones that deliverables will be kind of delivered to the client at the end. So that kind of test closure that provides that the requirement. The equipment also the needed, whatever equipment is going to be used in an environment, like if there's a server needed, requires a specific app server or web servers, you need to document it down on their software, what kind of software are the tools going to be used for testing it. So like here, an example, I provided that what software used to do the fiber compliance testing and stuff like that. So whatever tools you're going to be using, so and software you're going to be using to kind of perform that, you can document it down in the software. Personnel, so the people's going to be involved in that testing. So you can kind of describe that onto that column: test materials, test data, and test training. So the development team basically would they want to develop it, they might just provide some kind of inputs to kind of walk you through, but the training is not necessary for as a tester that you can go in and you can test anything you want, as long as the requirement is clear and the stories are clearly understood by a tester. So there shouldn't be any issue for anyone to do any testing, but still we need to get with developers a lot of times that there might be some complexity on there. Maybe the clarity is not there. So when developers develop their module and they understood the way, and the tester may understood the different, so asking them questions, and that kind of clears up what approach the tester should take. So test methods and evaluation, the conditions, test progression, data recording, constraints, criteria. I mean, that one by one, that what needed, what not needed, it can be taken out and modified. So it's just a broader picture of a test plan example given to you. So you can kind of go through it, but not necessarily that you would need all the fields or all the paragraphs there. Okay, so this is basically the test plan. Test plan is the document. Test plan document is the document that where you plan out how you're going to test, what you're going to need, what resources you're going to need, what technologies you're going to use, and what will you produce during that test process that needed to provide to the business owners or the client, and that's all recorded on that document. Is there any question on the test plan document?
Would you believe it? Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Would you please, brother Murshid, elaborate a little bit on the IE?
Oh, okay.
What's the
IE internet browser? So like, I mean, I was given an example. IE, like nowadays, pretty much all applications are built to make it compatible for all browsers. So Internet Explorer was the big used prior to Chrome and Firefox came to the market. So everybody was relying on IE Internet Explorer, and since Microsoft has dominated with their operating system to the market, so they were only using IE. So developers would code based on IE. Nowadays, the Google Chrome, Firefox, I mean, they have also taken a big chunk of audience or users. So nowadays, everybody is coding that would be used to any browser. So the example that I was given, that IE have a different version, like, they release their versions on a different time, or the patches. So if there's something was coded, like if says the code itself, it says that it can be run on like 5 and up, or 7, like IE5, IE7, and like if there's a certain code limit to view it on a different browser or a different version of it, then we would have problem. Like if a requirement says the system shall be launched and viewed on IE 11. And if the developers just code only IE 11, then if you have a 12 version, IE 12 version come out, and if it don't run, then it's problem. And as a tester, we have to, if we do see requirements as IE 11, and if we test it on 12, if it doesn't work, that means it is intended to not to work on that because it says specifically IE 11. So those kind of requirements, like sometimes it's the understanding of a requirement and making a mistake. So nowadays, developers pretty much develop any software that would work with the current version and upgraded latest version. So if you have 11, then if you have a 12, or if you have Edge right now, which is Microsoft are not going with the IE versioning anymore. So 11 was the last version. After that, they deployed Edge, Microsoft Edge, which is more thinner and lighter version, just like Google Chrome and Firefox. So now all development's been done on IE. It can run on IE, and also it can run on Edge, and also it'll be compatible with Google Chrome and Firefox. Safari, depending on how big of the viewers on Safari is, but yeah, Safari, that if you have the mobile device, and also it becomes compatible with Safari too. So they try to pretty much code for all browsers. So this was the example that I have given, and if that if the requirement can say, for example, for Windows app server, so they have to be hosted on Windows app server, not on Linux server. Those kind of stuff that kind of throw off the expected result. So therefore, as a tester, if you look at it, the requirement, and see what environment they have set up for us, we can kind of match it. And if it match the requirement, then we can proceed with the testing, or we can ask for environment to be changed to meet the requirement. Okay, any other question on this topic? Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is our test cases. This is very interesting, and this is one thing that most of the testers need to know. And this is what you're going to be. This is going to be your document, like a test document, like most of the time that you're going to come across, and you're going to be doing that. No matter if you do automation testing, manual testing, or any kind of testing, there's the test cases. Test cases is just writing down the document, the steps that you have done or perform or need to perform to get expected result based on the requirement. So I have an example here. I have shared with you too. There's a couple of examples actually. I've given the different way you can write the test cases. Let me pull both of these out. So, okay, test cases is a document like I mentioned, that any business process that you execute that's documented on that document. Basically, this is the format, how you write it. Either you can write it on Excel, you can write it on Word, Microsoft Word. It doesn't matter, whatever the company prefers. And also can be written on the bug tracking tools, or the application lifecycle management tool, like ALM, like Microsoft ALM, HP ALM, and Confluence Jira. So they have the capability of writing these test cases there, and also save it there, or also you can upload it on a Word document or Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet. You can write in on any of those, and the format is basically written up just like that, what I'm showing on my screen. that you usually write down the subject here and a test case name. So in the subject, basically you can write down the project name, like here I wrote down enterprise, and then test case name, car reservation using city and state. So this is the module that the test case, and these are over here the steps on that test case. So this is one of the test case, and then these are the steps. So first, in order for you to execute these business processes, you launch IE browser, or Firefox browser, or Google Chrome, anything that based on requirements. See, if you're doing a multi-browser testing, then you can do one by one for IE, one for Chrome, one for Firefox, one for Safari. So, and then you're entering the URL and see if the homepage shall display. This is the expected result. And then also another step, you can create over here the actual result. So that can be also a living document, and then which can be submitted along with the deliverables. So there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can add another column there like actual result, and we added on that one too. This is just an example of showing you how you write the test cases. Like if I go to like cyberbullying.com here, so if you wanted to write a test case, basically the first step would be launch browser shall launch, and a second step would be enter URL and click like you enter URL and click enter or click on go button, then it should take you to the cyberbullying site. So when you click on and get here, that pass. So basically an unexpected result is there, and actual result would be pass, to what it showed. And then again, if you're working on the home module here, from their home module, what are you trying to get on this module? What is the business requirement? So if business requirement says there should be a paragraph or the statement saying that welcome to cyberbullying, and this statement. So when you launch, so this statement should show on that page. So if it does not show, test failed. If it shows, it passed. So that is how you basically capture or write your test cases. And we're going to be doing probably some of the homework is going to be there. At the end, we'll have you guys do some of the homework that writing out one of the test cases. So I'm going to give you another example of test case. It can be written out differently. So the expected result and the result, like actual result right here. See that this one do not have a detail, only has the steps and functions. So it's written down the preconditions, what you need prior to testing. So there's a different, if you needed a login ID, password, or anything that you need, these are the preconditions that you write it out over here, that what you need in order for you to execute these steps right here. So this one was written on Word format. Another one I was showing you, this was on Excel format. So it doesn't matter how you write it, as long as you follow the format and all of it right. It's not right or wrong. So the format is basically the same. If you look at here, steps, the description, which is like I said, test function, that what you're doing, like select, launch, and any Word document. So this is like for something else, and what you should see, what is the expected result, and if this result is met, then this result is passed over here. This test case actually is necessary, and it is important for everyone to know how to write a test cases and test steps basically. So if you practice it, looking at the format, it should be able to um, create a test case document. So this is the format, and this one was like designed like sometimes they were putting those icons, like copying those icons, cutting and pasting it into the document, so it's easier for any user to understand that what to click, what not to click, and what to see, what look for. And there's a checkpoint also that explain, like for example, if we wanted to verify anything on this page, make sure it appears like for graphical appearance or any other statement. Like for example, if our requirement says these logos should be present on the home page, these three logos here, Selenium, Java, and EFT. So this is our checkpoint when we're launching this page. When it comes to this landing page, home page, that we want to verify that these logos are present on the home page. So the test case you can write on that launch home page and verify, launch home page, verify Selenium logo, Java logo, or EFT logo are present. Then your expected results would be these are present, and then actual result would be if they're present, pass. If they're not present, it's fail. So, and also if there's a link that towards that, there should be a link, hyperlink that when you click on it, it should take you whatever page it needs to take. And if it takes you there and that passes, if it doesn't take, if you click on this one, this link right here, and if it takes you to Google or to maybe contact page, if it's not intended for contact page, if it's intended for join, then it passes. But if it takes you, instead of joining, if it takes you to contact page or members login page, that means it failed. So this is how you write the test cases, and based on that test cases, you execute all this business process. The test cases can be written from the user story before you even start testing, like when the user stories are created on the Jira or the manually written out to the flashcard, and out of that you would know that what to write on the test cases basically. So, and as you are testing, it may change a little bit. You know, it's okay to change because it's a living document. It changes time to time. Any existing application that if you need to write out a test case, so like this, if this application was like cyberbullying site is existing site. So if somebody wants to write a test case, then all they have to do is first learn the application and navigate through the application, what it does, how it works. If there's no requirement given to you, like if I say, hey, can you write me the test cases for this cyberbullying site? So what are you going to do? Basically, if there's no requirement for it, like you don't see any requirement, but we need a test cases. We want to do testing. So basically what you do, you just go out and kind of navigate to the application and see what it does, you know, what are the behaviors of application, what is taking it, and if there's any logical mistake, like if I'm clicking on a home page and it's taking me to the somewhere else, so that's not right. The home page is like the page that first when you launch the application, the first page that views, they call a home page or the landing page. So if that, like first when it opens up, if it takes you directly to the members login, maybe the application was designed to take you there to log in order for you to get access to the other modules. So that is right, but if it's not intended for to be here, it should take you to the home page. and if it brings you over here and that is wrong, so you write that out and test it accordingly. So the test case document, yes, for the manual tester, automation tester is needed. At least write out the test case document, and this document like would be basically your test cases to test the application. And when we're doing the automation, basically automation does same thing that what's here, and it'll do the same step that you're doing manually. It'll convert into automation, so automatically it'll execute these steps for you and verify it, what's needed to verify it, make sure it's viewed, all these logos are present, and then it'll capture the results. So the automation is like kind of saving your time while you're doing the regression testing. Regression testing is a longer process because you have to, when you're doing the manual testing, you got to come back and do the other modules testing. So that takes time. It's a time-consuming effort. Therefore, the automation tools makes it easier. Like when you write your script and capturing all your test cases into the script, and that the test cases are executed automatically when you schedule it, or you can just click of a button, it'll do it for you. So one thing got to keep in mind that all 100% test cases cannot be automated. So there is a slightly a different opinion on from a different forums and different, but most of them agrees that 100% of the test cases cannot be automated. The tools are not capable to 100% automate all test cases. So there's some a part of it needed to be tested manually. But yes, manual tester, automation tester, everybody needs to know these documents, and more you practice writing it, it will become expert at it. So, any questions on the test case document?
Morning, Murshid. There are 2 questions posted on the chat.
Okay.
One of them is who will create test plan and how many people will contribute to that document? Either test.
Okay. Yeah.
Cases.
I saw that. Let me cover that. Okay. Who will create the test plan? Actually, if you like I mentioned before, if you are one-man tester in the team, then you are the one responsible for, and you can have the input from the development teams or business analysts and stuff like that. But if you follow the format and you know exactly what's being utilized, what system is going to be, if you review the requirement, then you can create it easily. So you're basically capturing what the requirements are. So it's going to be there's the business requirement document, system requirements document, and other documents. So you can kind of copy and paste from there basically and put it on your test plan. And the resource that you're going to put in. So basically, one-man testing. How much time is going to take for you to test? What kind of systems, and everything is going to be on those documents. And if there's a team of 3, 4, yes, all testers can get involved, or the test lead. Basically, most of the time, the test lead take the initiative of creating that document. And if there's a test lead, sometimes assign it to some testers on the team. They know that they can perform or they can do it certain way that would be more effective. They hand it over to that person and takes the other members' inputs to that document, how to write it and how to kind of capture all aspect of the testing. So it varies time to time. And honestly, in my IT career, and I have never written one. Most of the projects that I have worked, either they have a test plan, um, a template already created. I mean, I have not joined any of the new starting projects. So basically, they have already established that one. I joined the one that already established, and so I never had to write one. So most likely that you may get lucky, and some of my friends and I know that they have started on a new project, brand new project, and they had to write out a test plan. So I have provided them a lot of different templates and a lot of different way of writing it and inputs too. So, walk them through like what can be done too. So yeah, it's nothing that hard or the rocket science that, you cannot do. Anybody can do it. As long as you understand the materials, like what is the business requirement documents, what is the system requirements document, and they'll be clearly stating on those documents, this you need, this, need to be implemented for that environment. So you'll be well prepared from those documents, and you can copy and paste those, bring them over to your test plan document. So I would say the chance is very, very low that you would be writing it. But if you have to write one, don't feel that you can't do it. It is doable, and it's nothing that hard. All you have to do basically follow the format, bring everything over, and should be good. What was the second question? I don't see a second question on the chat box. So if Brother Shamsu, if you can tell me what was the second question.
I think they both are similar. So yeah, you answered.
Oh, okay. Okay, hope that covers that. So yeah, don't like I said, don't get scared by looking at all these. Only thing that most of the time you're gonna work on the test cases. This is what you can do, and this is the easiest thing to write. Just like shopping list. Test cases is just like a shopping list. Like before you go to shopping, like grocery shopping, you need this, you need that, right? You write it out on a shopping list. So when you go to a shopping center, you look at the list and you do buy stuff, right? So test case is just like that. I mean, just think of nothing else but writing out what you need to do and what you need to see by doing that. And are you seeing what you are expecting to see, basically? So that document is pretty clear. It says on the steps over here what you need to do and what you should see. Can you see it? If you see it, then this column over here basically is this column over here. It's the result that you're writing it down, pass or fail. So this is very, very, very simple and very easy. I don't think that it is any hard. But yes, if you still don't understand how to write, how to put it on, and it might have some difficulties. I'm not saying that everybody would have same kind of understanding. That's why we're different. Everyone is different. But please reach out to us, definitely, and we are here to help. Like, anything, any questions you needed to understand. We want you to understand the entire testing process and what you're going to be doing. So in a real time, in a real world, like I said, I've been explaining what you need to know. These materials are important for you to kind of going through the process, but in a real world, you're going to be using half of it. On a requirement, you would see, if you look at any job requirements, they put like all kinds of tools names, everything in that requirement before they wanted to hire somebody. So if you have in your resume and if you know about these things, yes, you can go through that process. But in the real world, when you join the team, you'll see that out of that 10 listed tools that they're asking for, you're going to be probably using 1 or 2, or maybe you're going to be doing different tasks which is not even was not even on the requirement. So this is the real scenario I'm telling you, and don't get nervous and don't get scared by looking all this document that we're providing, and don't get overwhelmed by it that you have to like memorize all that. No, you don't have to. Just go through it, understand the material, and try work with it. So basically, knowing the materials, knowing the process of it, will get you through the door. But when you go in the real world work, that if you think that can you do it, I mean, I would say yes, you can do it. When you get in there, you should be well prepared to perform because you have this knowledge already. And based on the environment, you should be well prepared for performing your task. Any other questions on this topic? Okay, if not, then I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is the requirement traceability metrics. Okay, I have shared with you two different, one in PDF, it's the same thing, the Excel format too. I just converted to PDF just for the class to just show you, and I'm going to also open up the Excel version of it. So the requirement traceability metrics actually, it's a document that it's trace the requirement, basically whatever the requirements that they have and what we have covered on our testing. So it covers. So there's a ID assigned to each requirement, and also test ID. So if you look at the IDs here on the left column, and then associated IDs, like anything associated IDs with that ID, it's written down here. Technical assumption and customer need and functional requirements. What functional requirements are on that ID is going to be listed over here. And then the status of it. Then architecture design document that can have another ID assigned to it. You can write down the ID or the short form, however needed. Then technical specification document, then system components. So it's good to know for a tester to have an idea of what is requirement traceability metrics, but it's not created by you most of the time. That the Scrum Master or the other members would be doing that, but if needed, that you can participate in it and provide the inputs towards. So it's good to know. But and also for the interview purposes, like if they ask you what is the requirement traceability metric, so the requirement traceability metric is basically in a simple sentence that I would say the one the document that traces the requirement, basically checking like if a requirement, like for example 1 through 10, it's like or A through A, B, C, D. If requirements are A, B, C, D, A says login page, B said A said home page, B said join page. Let me open up the table. If A says home page, B says join now, and C says trainer profile, and D says contact. So these are the 4 different requirements for different modules. So this is going to be assigned a number 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4. So these are the requirement ID. It's going to be incorporated to your requirement traceability matrix document. And based on the document, what are the numbers, that associated numbers you put in, and then when you break down to test cases, like how many test cases you can assign those test cases against those requirement ID. Also, you can do test ID like a TCU1, like you can do first 001 ID 001, then like you can do RID like the requirement ID, QID. However you want to kind of put those IDs and kind of would be recognized by against that requirement, then you can do like a TC ID 1001. So RQ1 TC1, then RQ1 TC2, RQ1 TC3. You can have so many different ID under one requirement. So those are the ones that you are covering the test for that main requirement, which is like an ID that we have mentioned. So this is like basically tracing down all the requirements, make sure at the end that we met and we covered.
Hello?
Yes, I hear the background sound. Can you mute yourself, please?
Hey, Murshid, I have a quick question. I know
Sure.
you went over with the.
I cannot hear you. Can you? Hello? Is it Amit? Hello, Amit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right. I have a quick question. I know you went over with the topics, but can you please explain briefly between test case and test plan in few sentences, please?
Sure. Yeah, the
All right,
test plan is like a, sure, no problem. Test plan is like an overall document that you're creating, how you're going to tackle the entire process, like what you're going to, test plan document, like what you're going to need for testing. It's like system requirements, your environment requirements, your tools, your the capacity of testing, like the resources and whatnot. So that's basically the entire test process that that you're documenting down. You're planning how you're going to do that. What are you going to need for it? So that document actually captured that entire testing process. And the test cases are basically it's a document that you write down only for executing the business processes, like when you're executing any of the business process that captures in that document, like here, you launch a URL, and then you should be able to view the home page, and then from the home page, then you enter, say, city name, location, and that shall give you the option of reserving a car for or within that state. So this is like the steps that you are taking to kind of executing, verifying that business process, the business needs, business requirements needs. And a test plan is like it's a broader to capture the entire plan, how you're going to do the testing, what you're going to need, what not, and all that details on that test plan document. Hope that answers the question, Amit. And you understand?
So moreover, in test plan, only the process of how to do it, and in the test cases, all related to the business requirements and all the requirements document relevant.
Correct. So this is like the test plan. Yeah, if you look at the test plan document is like a more of a capturing entire testing process, like what you're going to need, what environment you're going to need, and the purpose of testing, and all the details. Like it's like a broader document that kind of capturing and gathering entire testing process. And test cases are written out to the testing that module or the application just for the executing process, like as I said, the shopping list. Right now, here to give you a simple example that relates to our daily life, right? So if you want to do the shopping, right? If you want to do the shopping, you have a planning, you have a mindset that you want to go for shopping. You write down, okay, you want to go to shopping, you're going to go to this market, that market, and how long is it going to take? Are you going to use a car, bus, or truck, or whatever to get there, right? This is like your broader picture of a test, like a planning for that entire the effort or entire activities that you wanted to do, right? So your shopping planning is like you're writing out like, okay, this is what I need. If I need to go to A to B mall, A is my house, B is my mall where I need to go. So how am I going to go there? I'm going to take the bus. I'm going to walk to the street, catch a bus, go there, and do this. In order for me to do that, what I need a credit card, cash, or whatever. So this is the everything that you're doing, but you're doing the shopping. So same thing with the test cases is like a shopping list, and test planning is like a broader list how you're going from home to do the shopping. And this is when you write it down, it become a test plan document, and you're in your personal case would be like my the shopping the planning document, right? And when you go there, you wanted to do the shopping, so you have a shopping list. So shopping list is your test case. Okay, I want to buy this, like grocery. I want to buy clothing, this and that. So each one you do purchase, go buy, is your shopping list. You're buying it and you're finding it. If you find it, you cross that off of your list and you move on to the next list, move on to the next list. So that is like more of a shopping list is a test cases. And a test plan is like a broader plan that how you're planning to go there and do what you need to do, what you need to get there, how long it's going to take for you to there, and when can you be done. So everything is written out that a broader picture in that list. That's a test plan, and a test case is like more like a shopping list off of that effort, and then you're executing that shopping list. So in order for you to do that, you have to kind of write out the bigger plan to do that. So test cases is just like that, no difference. Basically, you're writing out what you're going to be doing on that application in order for you to meet that acceptance criteria, which by the requirement. Hope that is clear.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Amit?
A brief question. Can I add to this question of the brother? So
yeah, can you speak out louder, brother? I cannot hear you clear.
Yeah, just to add to his question, expected result. Actually, the actual result, expected result not come as honestly. Let me put it this way. So,
if the result is
the actual result. Okay. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so like I said, and if the expected result is not met, like for example, if you're saying select to launch any Word document, so Word document should be launched, right? Or open Word Workshare pane on the menu. So if this does not open up, right? So your expected result is not met because you're doing this action to meet this result right here, and if it does not met, if it does not open, what it shows is open, that means the actual result would be the fail. So this should be your fail. Actual result is failed. So you write down a fail because this step failed, and this is a bug, and this is an error because it's not meeting the acceptance criteria what is expected. And if these all, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like, see if I understand. So let's say, take for example, during your test plan, you plan as to are you gonna take an agile approach or a waterfall approach, and within that approach, are you gonna use a requirement 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah, and then are you gonna do a stress testing or a regression testing? So that whatever, like everything all together, that's a test plan, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that test plan is like a broader plan that if the system requires a plan. So that if you do like these are like more, I have explained these are the test cases for the functional testing part of it. So yes, that is a broader plan. Like if the system needs the load testing, stress testing, other testing that can be explained on that document too. But these test cases are mostly used for the functional testing and regression testing. And if you do that, that requirement would be different for the load and performance testing. The load and performance testing comes in play, like what is the intended users they're going to be needing, and that test requirement would be different, but it can go under a same test plan. The test plan you can write.
That's what I'm saying. That's a test plan.
Right.
You plan, okay, I'm gonna go do this test or that test, okay, according to the needs of my services or products, right? And then or I could do all of the above. So when you include everything in under one domain, that's a test plan, right? As far as the test case is concerned, within that test plan, so stress test would be one case. What other tests out there? A regression test is another approach. So there would be there would be cases, like, you know, like am I understanding it clearly? Like that's exactly what it means, right?
No. Yes, you understand. So that I'm glad that you understand that. Yes, the manual the functional test cases are used for regression test cases. So basically, when you're creating the functional test case, right? So like if you're creating these documents, and these documents you executed, and these documents are there. So basically, these same tests that you're going to be executing for regression tests. Now, when you do the regression testing, like regression testing done nowadays, the agile methodology and with the Scrum approach, that each build are going in separately. Like you can have one build pushed into production, the next build, the next build. So since it is going by module and sprint by sprint, or the iterative, like, you know, one the version by version going into the build, so there's a chance of getting code getting break somewhere there. So therefore regression testing needed. And then also regression testing needed if you find any bug while you're testing any module. And if you find any bug within that module and you report it in and the developer goes and fixes it, then also regression testing needed. The reason, because whatever he fixed, you might find that that's working, but it might break the other one that he have tested before on that module. So therefore regression testing needed. So regression, functional and regression testing test cases will be the same. And for load and performance testing test cases, there isn't a test cases, but there's some test cases would need, like most of the time the load and performance testing would be based on the most 80-20 rules, like most used area, like basically if there's any application that where user need to log in, so most of the users would be logging in. That's a high traffic site. So those are the ones going to be in the requirement, and they will have a test case for login. Just for the functional test case for the login would be incorporated into the load testing. But there's going to be other requirements for load testing, that how many users can log in, how many intended users can log in, and what networks, different networks. So you can kind of do a global different settings, so people mimicking the network from logging in from different parts of the world and stuff like that. So load testing requirements would be different, and the test cases would be different. And these test cases are mostly for functional and regression testing. Is it clear, Amit?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you guys for asking questions, and that kind of motivates me that you guys are interested to learn, and definitely we'll try to provide all answers. Yes. Yeah. Sure.
One more brief question. So in the case, like, if the testing failed, like, the actual result didn't match, like, the requirement, where it should be taken to be solved? To the developer?
Yes.
Yes,
I'm coming to it. We have also in a syllabus here the defect log. Okay, so since you brought it up, I can move on to that one. So since we're working on requirements and all the defect log, I can bring up over here since we're discussing that, so I was in my syllabus defect log. So defect log, as I explained before, like yesterday, let me pull this out. So again, so we can explain it better, so you can look at. So bug report template, right? So we have bug report template. So when you're executing your test cases and you find any error defect that the expected result is not met and it fails, so if it fails over here, you're gonna write up the report. How are you gonna write the report? You're gonna create a bug report. So in the bug report, basically, this is a bug report template manually. You can create that, or like I said yesterday, there's a tools available. Some companies using Jira. Some companies using LM. So different tools they're using. So that can be also reported through them. You can create the bugs onto those tools they have, or if your company that do not use that tools, that you can do the manual reporting. So you create a bug report template. Follow this template. You can write so that the ID number. So you're going to be basically writing the test ID number, as we mentioned, that you can provide a test ID like. As on the requirement document, right? So you can have test IDs written out to each test, like the step one and the ID, like other template that I showed here. So you can have IDs written here on that module. You can have another column for adding IDs. So those IDs can be written in. You can write your name, the name of the module that you're working on, and then also the report you're reporting, your name, then the date that you're submitting, and write down that the summary of what you found and stuff like that, and then you provide the URL and a screenshot of it. Then platform you have tested on, operating system that you have used, what browsers you have used to test that, and severity level, priority level, and assign to. This is the assign to, who you are assigning it to. If a developer A work on that particular requirement that you have tested, and developer A is the one who developed it and it's not working, so you assign that to the developer A, and you record it. And that recording it's going to be staying recorded. So basically, when you create that document assigned to him, your document is going to be staying with you at the end of the testing. Whenever you submit your result to your team lead or the project manager, whoever is leading the entire team, they'll be collecting all the documents from you, and you can submit it. And you also can submit it via email when you're emailing it to a developer. And then you can CC your team lead too, so they can have a copy of it too. But at the end of the completion of your test, that you're going to submit these documents. So basically, you write the developer's name here and write it out, and they will work on it. So that would be pending. When they fix that bug that you found, then you're going to go back and do the regression testing, do the functional testing of the fix, that if it's working properly as expected, and also do the regression testing in surrounding areas or the other codes that were implemented at the same time. And this is a template that you're going to be using, like for if your company is not using any of the tools. Is that clear?
Very.
All right.
Is there any other than the requirement traceability matrix? Then there is a testability matrix.
You can create, yes, you can create the test traceability matrix. So like each module it can be created. So basically, a requirement traceability matrix has a test traceability matrix on there. So it requires requirement traceability matrix actually covers up all of the from A to Z. Basically, whatever requirements were implemented and whatever requirement was tested. So anything was implemented if it was tested. So that's test traceability matrix is like a requirement traceability matrix actually covers. It's like a broader coverage than a test traceability matrix. So if you have an application that do not have any requirements, like existing application that if they want you to cover up just the test what you have tested, they can create a test IDs and you can do the same thing. The module name over here, this part of it, like of the Excel spreadsheet. Let me open up the Excel spreadsheet so you can see it better than I have it saved. 1 second. Excel. Okay. I'm opening up the Excel, the template, so I can kind of share with you guys. Okay. So this is the Excel spreadsheet. Basically, this part of it is like more of the broader requirement. For there, this is like a test requirement you can do. So from these requirements, actual requirements to the test requirements actually driven down over here. So that kind of covers pretty much all requirements. Now, if you do not have any of the requirement that or existing application that you have working on, that you need to do a test requirement traceability matrix just to cover up the test what you have done. You're going to have test cases definitely, but you can write it out over here and what is tested, what is not tested. That those are the ones that can be written. So this part of it can be used as a test requirement traceability matrix. So what do you have test?
So basically, it's the same thing: requirement
Correct.
traceability and testing testability.
Yeah. Well, the test traceability metrics, it can be like I said. I mean, if you're working on a application that may be existing application that you need to test on it, and there's no actual requirement for it, so you go navigate through it, you create the test cases, and you can give them an ID, and those ID can be implemented over here, and you can follow it like tested in whatever environment you tested, implemented in like whatever, and then verification, yes, no, whatever. So you kind of get an overview of that test cases that you have written out. But test cases itself is also traceability metric that you can see whatever steps you did, whatever test cases that you have implemented for that. But if you wanted to add additional one to give a better, broader picture or make it, kind of given instead of test case, a detailed test case that you want to give in a broader picture to the higher management, you can create one just like that with the test case IDs and see what you have covered and stuff like that.
Very good. Thank you.
Same document. Sure. Okay, any other questions on these topics or previous topics? Anything that you don't understand? If you don't have one now, you can ask us later, and we'll be available to answer your questions and make sure that you understand the document. Okay, if not, then we're gonna go on. I think it's a break time. We can take a break for 10 minutes. We can come back again like to 11:30. We can come back at 11:40. So team, go ahead, take a break for 10 minutes, and we'll just reconvene after the break. Thank you. welcome back after the break. I hope everybody get a chance of get a drink or something. Okay, we're gonna go back to the topics and would like to share some information like as we are doing all this. I've shared all these documents. You should have a link that we sent out the email that all of you should receive, and you should see all these documents. If you don't see it on your Google Drive, please contact us because these documents are going to need it. And one thing that I would like to say, although we did not write it on those documents, not to share with anyone, please try not to share with anyone. These are confidential documents, like just for us, our organization, and it's for you. So you can go and study, use it, and we trust you that not to share these documents with others without any of our consent. So please, if you need to share with anyone, ask us to get confirmation from us. And without our confirmation, please don't do that. Although we did not put out any of the legal statements, but we trust in you. So also, I'd like to say that whatever you're learning or gaining from us, if you attend in a group session and with your understanding level, if you try to explain it to the others students in a class, that will be actually helping you to prepare and understand better on the documents or the process. So please plan to attend our group sessions. Look forward, check in your email inbox that we'll be sending out the session, group session timing. So try to attend those group sessions with the group, the other students, and then so you can kind of be better at it. Okay. So we cover up test plan, test cases, requirement traceability metrics, and defect log. Basically, we have covered it all. And lastly, we have a test analysis report. And after that, we're going to be doing some of the hands-on practice on test cases. Like I said, the test plan is, I mean, you going to probably write once in a blue moon, or you may end up writing it all like from the beginning. So if you're a one-man person on the team as a QA engineer, that you're going to be writing that. And if not, the others that existing the projects, then you're not going to be writing any of the test plan. So even if you need to write it, you do have a template out there that we have provided you. But if you needed any other templates, also we can provide, or we can help to write it out. Not a problem. As we promised that we'll be supporting you throughout your career. That if you decide to go along with us after the class and go through the boot camp, so we'll be doing that. So don't get scared that do I have to write all these? If I can do it, yeah, anybody can do it, as long as you understand the material and what need to write, and if you understand these templates and what it says and what you need to write, if you understand the requirements, like business requirements, technical requirements, and other requirements that are out there, if you understand that, then it'll be easier to write. So. Okay, and anything that we upload, as I was showing earlier, our Google Drive, anything we upload under this class in this folder, it'll be sent out an email or the message throughout the Hangout. I'll highly encourage every one of you install Google Hangout on your phone. So the message group that you attend, so everybody get the message. If we update anything, we'll drop it off to the Hangout group, so you get the update right away. And also, we'll try to communicate via email. So you might receive an email link that anything we put in these folders. So you should have access to all these materials here. It's showing all these materials are in your Google Drive. These are today's materials, and these are yesterday's materials. So out of that, also we have a syllabus in there too. If you have any issue to access these materials, please contact us. We'll resolve that issue. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is a test analysis report, or the TAR. Some would call test analysis summary report, TASR. So it varies, but it's the same thing. It's just a different name, different abbreviation. People call it differently. Either or is fine. However, your company would prefer, whatever company you join, you can follow their names, however, whatever they call. So the test analysis report. Test analysis report is also a document that you provide at the end of your testing. So basically, this is like a test closer. Like you come to a conclusion of, okay, I'm done with testing, and this is what I found. Okay, so this is a template that we have. We can provide a different templates to write it out, and there's a simpler template and the more detailed template. So the different project uses for different purposes and different needs. The organization that I was working with prior to joining the new organization, they are using very simple, simple template that I would say I had to probably write a few times the test summary report while their test lead or the task lead were not available. So I had to write it out, but template pretty much was there. It's just changing the project cycles or the name and whoever created the document. So basically, the test analysis report will be just like that, test analysis report on top. This is a template. So we added the template there, and basically we did the project name, and probably you can write down if there's any like commercial off-the-shelf product, like anything that from outside bought and you need to test, there would be a version to it. You can write down the version of it. If not, then you just write down the project name. So I wrote down project name is CyberBullion. Then the document, in that document, you can have a statement there, office use only, blah, blah, blah. If this is only for office, not to get out, or you don't have to do anything. If it's a public document and anybody can look at it, you don't have to declare that. So your declaration can go over here, but without declaration, you don't have to do anything. So document prepared by whoever prepared the document, if you do it, your name is there, document date, when was it prepared, also document review by, like whoever reviewed the document, another tester or the team lead or anybody can view, or the project manager, anybody can review the document and they can put their name there. And also, if document review date, if we can add another line over here, the document review date, whenever it was reviewed. So test analysis report, actually the overview that you write, what the system intended to do, what needed to be done, and what is that for. Then also purpose of this document should present clear choice of statement and the purpose of the test analysis report. So these are pretty straightforward, written out examples there, where the purpose was, the scope of it, and also reference documents that they can refer to the documents that was used or utilized for to completion of the test. Also, if there's a security awareness needed to be aware of, then that can be kind of written out on this section right here. So this is an example, like this section describes any security consideration associated with this system. So if there's any security rules and requirements, so that's what needs to be written out over here. Like you go to the glossary again. So this section defines all terms provided in the list, abbreviation used, the test analysis. So basically, the templates are pretty simple and similar to each. That if you need it to, if you put in glossaries, you can add this. If you don't need it, you can take it off. So it can be modified. However, provide, and it's not only that you write it out and submit. No, there's going to be a reviewer. That you create a document, you bring it to your team lead, you bring it to the other team members that they might have knowledge, might have some inputs. So I don't think that in this journey you're alone. But yes, if you are one member of the quality assurance team, then you are yourself. But these documents needed to be reviewed. So don't think that still you're alone. You're going to be creating responsibility, going to be on you to initiate and create, but it has to be reviewed prior to go out to the client. So either you go to the team lead, or you go, if you do not have a team lead, whoever you're reporting to, you get them involved, or if there's any other development team or business analyst, anybody needs to review, so that they would sit down and review. So there's nothing gets out on your like by itself, like if one person, if I create anything, and there's a basic rules that if I create any document, before I send it out, it should be reviewed with the other team members or other like a team lead or the project managers. Make sure that these documents has everything documented, written out clearly, that understand by the client. So because these are going to go to the client basically, and telling and describing what was done. So the analysis over here, basically you write out what you have found and what you have done, like what you did to do the testing. Test name, you can write it out there. What test that you done, that performed, and the specified units, module, whatever part of it that do, and if you have the assign the requirement ID, also you can mention that to there to kind of, but also you have to kind of spell it out for the better understanding. ID can be assigned along with it too. So if you just assign ID and do not spell it out what module you have tested, sometimes people may have to just look at this ID and reference it back to the original document that you have created, the ID against the name. So there's going to be back and forth, so it's going to be harder for them. So if you have ID and name spelled out, it'd be easier for them to kind of visualize it while they're looking at this document. System functions. So you describe here system functions, what and how it behaves. So functional capabilities, performance capabilities. So performance-wise, what how it performed while you're doing the manual testing. So this is not a performance capabilities like for the performance testing. So performance capabilities basically covering up the how it performed while you're doing the testing. So, and sometimes some applications loads take time, loading time. So there can be a network issue and the other issues, they can look at it. But while they're doing load and performance testing, that can be addressed to resolve those issues. But at least, yeah, it can report, it can go on your test analysis report. So for functional and regression tests, and this is a test analysis report going to be provided. For the load testing, load and performance testing, there's going to be separate load and performance testing. Test analysis summary will be provided. Also, there's the summary actually generated by a load testing tool, so that can be provided to kind of describing what was found, so and explained to them. So most of the time, the load and performance testing detail summary report is not provided. I mean, detail in the sense like I'm not writing out like that, but the details in the sense of capturing all the data and analyze all the data, and that kind of provided. Software and hardware requirement findings. So what was the requirement and what findings? So it's what you have used, what you have find. So that's going to go under software and hardware requirements. Onto that test analysis report, requirement number and names. Also, you can provide requirement numbers and names, kind of details showing, like as I mentioned on the top, that if you have requirement numbers and names, so you can kind of list it out over here too if you needed to, or if you can just delete that paragraph if you don't need it. Okay, the findings, what you have found on testing. So if everything goes well, then you write down this based on our the requirement and descriptions of what we have found based on the testing, utilizing those blah blah blah. I mean the material, systems and tools. This is what we have found. So basically, you're just writing out that your findings. Limitation, if there was any limitation to your the findings. So limitations right here. So if there was any limitation, if there's a limitation on the data, if there's a limitation to the system or the network or anything, any limitation was, it should be written out over here for the reviewer or the customer to understand there was a limitation during that test period, and this is based on that limitation. This is what was found. Or if there's any limitation that needed to be addressed, or if there's a limitation tool that need to be described, so they can look at it if they're needed to be implemented or make it kind of better based on the result. Summary and conclusion. So in the summary and conclusion, you got demonstrated capabilities, and then system deficiencies can be written out under summary and conclusion. System refinement. So in that section, what needs to be refined and what needs to be added, it can be written out to that section. This is like basically pretty self-explanatory template. So I mean, if you look at and review it, then should be able to implement a detailed summary report from your test finding and what is driven from your test plan and test cases. So recommendation based on the findings, recommendations and estimates. So that can be based on there. Like if you think, like for example, if you think that something that you found that it could work around, you can find tricks to kind of make it work around, so you can make the recommendation. If they make a change, then that the user would not get that issue, or would not have the problem, so you can make that recommendation. And also recommendation for like not to deploy or not to go in production until fix these bugs. I mean, those recommendations can be made based on your findings. Now, test problem reports, any issues that you have found, that's where it's going to go. That any of the problems that you have encountered during the testing. So this should be logged over here. So test analysis approval determination form. This section contains one copy of test analysis approval determination form. So this form basically summarize readiness and migration of software. So user acceptance test, which is like as the end user, you like what tester does is basically end user testing, like user acceptance testing. So when we do the testing, we're just testing as a actual user, basically, whatever user needs to see from the other end, and that's what you're seeing. Like if there's any administrative activities, then you're going to log in as administrator and try to see that what admin can do, if you can do it, or if you're just a regular user. So as a regular user, if you can do what you need to do and how the system is. So basically, this goes here. I'm hearing some background noise. If you can mute yourself, or if you want to talk, please just do so. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so basically, this was the test analysis report, which is abbreviated name, TAR, test analysis report. I know it is the document that it's a big document. It's kind of may get you scared, but don't get scared. The templates are pretty simple and easy. If you look at it, whatever paragraphs you need, whatever section you need, you keep it. Whatever you don't need, you just delete it, and let it be your test summary report or test analysis report. So yeah, there's actually there's a other name, like a 3 different name. It called the test summary report, test analysis summary report, and test analysis report. So 3 different ways it can be called. So company, the industry to industry, it varies. And this will be the end of your testing. Basically, when you do the summary report, you're submitting it to your lead or whoever collecting all the documents. Along with that, you're going to be submitting a bug report. Along with that, you're going to submit the test cases that you have executed, and also the test plan that you had written out, or the test plan. If you're working on the team, then team lead would have the test plan already ready, and you just submit these documents to the team lead, and team lead will gather all the documents from each and every tester, and at the end, the test summary report you don't have to do by yourself. If it's a team collaborated effort, then the team lead initiates, and team lead basically would create that document to submit to the client. And like I said, if you are a backup team lead or team lead backup, or if you're one man, then you're going to be doing that, but somebody else would review along with you. So don't feel scared on this. Any question on this topic for TAR, test analysis report?
Hi, Murshid. There are 2 questions on the chat. You want me to read through?
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
One is, can you please tell us about some examples of test names, and what is the difference between test analysis and the test cases?
Okay, test names. Okay. All right, good question. Thank you. And I encourage each and every one of you to ask questions. Okay. Examples of test name. Okay, here on this test case template, we have a test case name. So this is basically the test name right here. So this module, car reservation using the city and state. So this is like one of the modules for like enterprise car rental. would have that module there. So if I go to our site, cyberbullion.com, if I go to cyberbullion.com over here, okay, cyberbullion.com here, so this, so that can be a test name, for test case name, the CV homepage or cyberbullion homepage or cyberbullion home. So you can write out like test case name as sorry here you can write out like CB underscore home. So you do like this can be the name, and also against that you can assign a test ID. So you can do TC like test case CB01, or however you want to provide the name that it would be easier for you, CB1, like cyberbullion 01. So we know that when you get like a test case, TC like stands for test case. So that test case, you know that CB01 is like a cyberbullion homepage. Then you can go like a join as join now can be CB underscore join, and that can be your another test case name, CB underscore join now. So if you do that, and then you can assign this test cases ID as a TC CB02. So this is how you can write the name, a test name as a test case name. Basically, the test name would be the test case name as I showed on the test case template. Let me go back. Like on this one. So this can be placed under name. And the second part of the question was the difference between the test summary report and a test case. Okay, the summary report, like basically like a test plan is like a how. Let me cover up the test from the test plan, test case, and test summary report, so they can kind of probably give you a better picture. Test plan, you write out everything you need to test an application. Like what are you going to be doing, what kind of testing, so like based on the requirement. So whatever the requirement they said, if they said requirement that's for like functionality verification, if it's like healthcare.gov. Now healthcare.gov is an application that open for every citizen or resident of the United States. So you have to have, by requirement, you have to have the load and performance testing because everybody's going to be logging in. Now, if an application that for like intended user probably might be 10, 5 or 10, maybe just for internal use and just the admin's going to be using, like for any of the admins for any companies that only be using to keep the record of their financial records and the other stuff. So those 4 or 5 people may have access. So the requirement would be different. For healthcare.gov, requirement would be functional regression testing, and also the load and performance testing, endurance testing, all that. Now, for the other hand, those 5 users applications, you're going to have only functional regression testing. So that kind of changes of what you need to write on your test plan. So based on that, your test plan documents created what you're going to need. And from that test plan document, the test cases are also driven from the business requirement, only the business requirement, that what they're expecting from that application. So the test cases are written out of the user stories. Like, okay, as a user, I should be able to log into cyberbullying site and like here, cyberbullying forum. Log into cyberbullying forum and join the forum. So that's what we're saying, that this requirement is like we should be able to log in here and join the forum. So that's driven out of that the requirement that or the user story says. So from that user story, I should be able to log in. Basically, it says it, but how are you going to log in? That broken down. If you log in, so that's broken down. That requirement is broken down to, okay, then users should have, or the login page shall have email address and username and password, then login button. So that three things going to be under that requirement or that story. So from that story, when it's broken down to these three things, so if you have username and password and login button, so what this would do, basically, you're going to write out the test cases out of that requirement or that story, that user shall enter valid password and valid username, valid password, and click on login. User shall be able to log in. So that's driven out of that, the part of the requirement that was for login, and user story broken down to. So if we so if we do like a test cases, writing out from that, driven from that requirement, and wrote out the test cases, then when you do the test summary report, the test summary report actually covering overall the test finding. So the difference between a test case and a test summary report is, like, a test case is a document that you have tested what you have done, and summary report is explaining the details of what your findings, what was the intended purpose, what was the purpose of it, and what the scope was given from that requirement document, and referencing the other documents too. So those are, again, captured onto the summary report, and based on that, so whatever the requirements was, you bring it out in this summary report, and based on that requirements, you have done testing and what you have found. So the test cases are it's just within the process of, like, executing the business process based on the requirement. And summary report is just summarizes the entire finding of the testing based on the requirement. Hope that clears up the question. Any other question?
Yes, Moshe, there is another question. Can you please explain what kind of hardware requirements that can be found in the test process?
Okay, the hardware requirement for the applications, most of the time that would describe that any of the applications that need to run on Linux box, Unix box, or the Windows box. Operating systems, and a hardware requirement basically would be coming along with those operating systems. So if they're describing, if they're telling the hardware needed, like, I mean, the operating system needed like a Linux. So whatever hardware Linux uses for their the software on that box, that will come along. But if they say, like, okay, Linux operating system 5.1 or 5.2, then whatever comes along with the 5.2, whatever box requirement, the hardware requirement for it. Like for an example, that if you look at the the Windows machines, that desktop boxes. Some of the desktop boxes are designed, the hardware designed to support up to certain version of software. So those hardwares, they're incorporated like the motherboard and the other stuff. It's only for intended of that software that can be installed. Now, if you try to install a newer version of a software operating system on that hardware itself, then it would not be compatible. It would not work properly because it was intended to make for that or up to that point. Therefore, the hardware needed to be changed. So hardware is just not the outside the frame of it. There's the motherboard and chips and other stuff that are installed inside that box, and those are the hardware. And those inside of those hardware, those softwares are installed and embedded, so they're kind of communicating. So if that hardware did not have a capability of taking the upgraded or latest version of a software, then that can throw the problem. So that kind of explains on the requirement document, like, okay, what latest version of a software or hardware can be utilized, and if there's a need for change, can that be migrated over to a newer version of a hardware, software? So possibility right now, the old systems were like legacy system, COBOL systems, IBM's, the systems developed, they were hard because nowadays everybody is trying to moving away from those, but it's really hard, even though the hardwares are not supported like on those systems, whatever the hardware or the software, the operating systems are out there, so they're not able to support old systems. So they're just moving away from that. So therefore, requirements should specify specifically, like, these are the hardware, these are the software needed for kind of implement the system or the application. And also there's the risk analysis going to be along with that. If we utilize this hardware or software, what kind of risk we can face now, what kind of risk we can face in the future. So those are all the risk analysis documents, and everything's going to be along with that, discussed and documented and measured very carefully before they would decide to go with whatever the hardware or software needed to go. So hardware requirement actually comes with a system specification. Basically, whatever operating system we're going to use, it's not specifically mentioned on any documents. Like, it'll basically say like a Linux box of version this, or you could say Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2014. So the latest version of the servers that's going to be utilized and used for hosting application and configuring applications. And for the testing purposes, it'll tell on that technical requirement document or system requirement document, it'll tell that the IE browser or Windows 7 operating system or Windows 10 operating system, it might tell specifically. If it doesn't tell that, it will specifically say, or it will just generally it will say any Windows operating system, any Mac operating system, or anything. So that would kind of declare. And if it does not declare, that means it's open for all operating system. It should be able to. That should technically be implemented. And if it's not implemented that way, that means there's some problems. Then when you come across any issues, you look at that requirement, system requirement document, and if you find that nothing has mentioned and you're finding that problem, then you can bring it up to the team and say, if it's not mentioned, then that should be open or accessible or compatible with any system that I test from, and it's not working that way. So they need to change that the requirement specification on that technical system requirement document, or they can just make it compatible or usable from any of the operating system or browsers or the other platform. Next question. Do you have any other question? Some test cases. Okay. Okay, so I've covered that, and also what types of errors that we can use to report your test analysis. What kind of references? What kind of references that we can use or use a report in our test analysis? The reference document, like you can reference document, see like you could like business requirement document, the system requirements document, and like technical requirements document. So those are the documents that you can utilize on there to reference it to kind of show and justify your findings. So those were documents you could say like according to the business requirement documents of the system, this is what it shows. According to the technical requirement document, this is what it shows. So any kind of documents that you can reference to, and those are the documents that you can use on that reference section and reference those documents. So basically those documents are for this entire project, so entire effort or development effort. Okay, I hope that answers questions. So that was okay. That's good questions. Hey, yeah, thank you everyone for asking questions, and that kind of you know, allow you to understand better, and also yeah, thank you for pointing that out. There's a typo, yes. There's a spelling error. So thanks for catching it. See, you have done a QA job already, so you're already ready, Shamsul Alam. You're ready for you have done a QA on the document. Thank you. So you have done already QA. You have findings, yes. Also. Thank you. Yes. There's a typo. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we also need to be careful. So there's a document like document MFC, and just like so. Yeah. Thanks for catching that. And this is these are the eyes. These kind of eyes that you needed to like kind of on testing and also writing a document. And it will be reviewed by the others. So you gotta keep an eye. So yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll make a correction and probably post it up again to you guys, so that's the way you can get the better copy. Yeah. So yeah, see, you guys are already pro. I mean, you guys are ready to join the job. MashaAllah, that's good. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions. There's okay. So a tester works in a software or both software and hardware too. No, the hardware is not. Okay, let me read the question out. So a tester works in a software or both software and hardware. Okay, basically the hardware, you don't work on a hardware. Hardware is the thing that like if you have a computer or a laptop has a hardware. It's not the frame that you're looking at. The hardware mostly like whatever the motherboard and a hard drive that installed inside, those are the disk and the other stuff. Those are the ones, the hardware. And inside of those disks, there's a program running called the software. That any program that runs and the computing, like inside the chips has a signal to go read that disk and the view display, and those signals are attached to a keyboard or your icon, desktop icon. So when you click, clicks just gives a signal to the the chips, and chips goes out and it sends out the signal to the motherboard and in the disk, and it retrieves what it needs to go. So they have a signal linked to that the file system, and it brings out from the file system and views it there. And whatever those chips and the other stuff, the boards and like the motherboard and the disk installed, those are the one hardware. So you don't work with those. You're basically working with the software. Basically, your operating system is the software, but those are associated with the hardware. So you're going to be working with the laptop, just like you're using a laptop for your class. Like, you know, you are looking at it like you enter into GoToMeeting. What did you do when you go to the GoToMeeting? Like, you went in, you entered the link, and you clicked on join. You were able to join. So this is what you're doing, and this is how you're going to be doing on a testing. Like, you wanted to see if you can join the meeting by entering that link. No, that you're not going to be working with the hardware. Hardware is not part of yours testing. But if you work in a gaming industry, like if you go to test like any of the gaming, like a gambling booth, they have like slot machines and stuff like that. So whoever the maker of that, if you work for them or work with them, you may have to test some of the hardware they're using it. So hardware would be whatever they have provided with, along with the software, and some hardware functions that make sure it's functioning properly. Maybe the handles or the buttons they have given you, when you press the buttons, make sure it's working properly, you know, those kind of stuff. Other than that, I don't think that anybody would be doing any of the hardware testing. So hardware testing, also the automotive industries, that if you work for automotive industries, yes, you're going to be doing some of the hardware and software testing. If you work for maybe the medical equipment and devices, that you're going to be working with both hardware and software. So yeah, there are testing for, but you know, this most of the testers are working in the DC metro area of the other industries, and they're going to be working with most of them software. So hardware would have also a requirement, and a software would hardware and software both would have a requirement, so that those documents would be kind of provided as just like a software too. So yeah, automotive industry. That I'm from Detroit, so you know, we work with the hardware and software, but that's just limited to that industries, and not every industry would do. And also, if you do work for like other appliances that we use nowadays, appliances that come in as with the software, so you might be dealing with both hardware and software. So hardware would be your kind of buttons and stuff. Like yes, we do have some of the hardware and software. I'm sorry that I'll take my word back. It's not only on those industries. Also, currently the government agencies are utilizing some of those kiosks, the booth system that for travelers to kind of travel without without standing in a line. So they can just scan their passport and go to the airport and coming out, checking out, and with the passport. So if you're enrolled on those systems, yes, you should be able to scan your passport and get out quicker. But testing those systems, yes, hardware and software needed to be tested. So the software part of it would be tested by touching the touch screen and stuff like this. So if that program's running by doing the touch screen or doing the scanning system, if it's working properly or not, so that's going to be tested. So that's kind of part of a software and hardware testing. Hope that clears up the question. Okay. More that can you explain more what is a system function and also functional capability too? Okay, functional capability, system function. The system function would be like, for example, if you are using a laptop if you're using a laptop, that laptop needed to use for your daily use. So if you're getting the daily use, like a browsing, navigating, and doing the shopping, all that, if that works, and if you try to use it for the game, then you probably won't be able to utilize that system. So this one has a limitation, and system function is limited. So function limited to, like, this system would allow you to browse. Maybe it would not allow you to install a whole lot of stuff in that system, or will not allow to play games because the game may require the faster speed, and the hard disk or the motherboard has to be also faster, or the quad core or maybe 8-core processor, CPU processor needed. So therefore, the functional system functions would be limited by the functions that you wanted to perform. Like for the class that we have provided you the system requirements that we want at least 8 gigs of RAM. The reason that we said it that we're going to be installing a lot of tools. So if you have a slow system, and if you do not have enough disk space, and if you do not have a good processor, then it'll drag and it'll slow you down, and maybe you will not be able to keep up with the trainer. Therefore, we have provided you the system requirement that at least if you have this, and also the monitors that we said, extra monitor needed for it, so you can kind of view in one monitor and perform the task on the other monitor while instructor are teaching. Like when we go hands-on, like these are the documents, more the description that I'm given yesterday and today. It may not require additional monitor, but starting from next Saturday, you will need an additional monitor, or you have to log in with one laptop and work on the other laptop. The reason because, so that's the way you can do hands-on as instructor going, and you might say, team, do this, like install this, and team, run this. I'm going to run a line of code. I would expect that my entire team write the same code that I'm writing. So if they learn along and try to execute at the same time, so they got to practice along with it, like a hands-on training, and they got better expert at it. So the system functionality is depending on what the function that you want to execute out of that system, and capability. Like each system has a different capability. Like if you go to Best Buy, Micro Center, or anywhere else to buy a laptop or a desktop, you'll see the different specification of each one, and they're used for a different function. So if you go to, also the operating system is used for different functions and different business needs. If you go ask any of the experts of the computer system that, hey, I need a laptop or a desktop for my gaming purposes, they'll provide you the one that has the fastest speed and whatever the technology needed to, graphics technology, and the others, they would provide you the best one they have. And if you want to say, hey, I want to just look at a laptop, then they might say what function you want to perform, what you wanted to do with the laptop. If you say, I'm doing just the browsing and my daily shopping, they might give you the very low requirement system, like with a smaller RAM, smaller hard disk space, and other stuff. And if you say, like, for development purposes that you want to get a laptop, they might just recommend, I recommend you take this, bigger RAM, the better. That if you have it, the bigger RAM, it helps you to execute and view your programs faster. Like if you click on something, it'll be viewing instantly rather than waiting on it and coming up for after a few seconds. So if you remember that old days that when we have internet first, that AOL, and there was a dial-up modem that log in and click on it and sit down and hear the sound and goes on and on. So we were used to it at that time, like we did not have no problem. But nowadays the systems, actually everybody gets so used to using the faster system. Therefore, our expectation is like on a click of a button, it should view. So that's why, based on the need, that's what we need to do. And on the other hand, also, like whenever the system is implemented, like any of the application that hosted on an application server, the same thing, that if you have a larger audience, larger user, then that application should be fast enough to respond. Like if you click enter the URL, it should just pop right up, because you have a larger audience. So their system has to be designed that way, supporting multiple the app servers, and they should be integrated together, and there should be the middleware where they can cache the application. So instead of pulling out of that server, the middleware would basically view it from there, because it will cache on there. So instantly, as you click, you should see. Like if you go to Google, if you see that before you even complete typing, it views what you're trying to do. So based on your typing or the word that you're typing, it pretty much shows that all the list based on that. Like they pull it down when you complete typing, and it just complete viewing it. So the fastest way that they're showing it, like, and everything is cached onto their middleware. So as you type in, it is kind of ready to view. So that's also based on the system limitation, like what they can view and show. Okay, hope that answers question, and thank you very much for asking all these questions. That also opening up probably or giving understanding for everyone else too. And I hope that everybody is understanding. And if you don't, please feel free to ask questions. We're here to help, and we know that if you you might have difficulties of understanding this the process at the beginning, but we are ready to put enough effort to make you understand. And like I said, we are going to start like more interesting interactive sessions starting from next week. You guys are going to be coding, and basically the coding, and when you hear the coding, you're going to be writing the codes, basically the Vue scripting. So don't worry that if you do not have any of the coding background, and if you do have, then you're going to be fine. If you don't have, you're going to be fine, not a problem, because it'll pretty much explain and show how you're going to transform your manual test cases onto automation test cases by utilizing that tool. And also you're going to learn that Vue scripting. So that's pretty simple and easy language to learn. If you understand how it works, and it'd be easier for you. And I'm pretty sure that you'd be able to understand that. So stay tuned and be excited for that. Any other question on this topic? Okay, I guess you don't have any question.
I have a question.
Sure.
But
sure.
It's more of like a request/comment. Is there any way, just today, we can take an early lunch break? Only if it is possible.
Oh yeah, no, sure. Why not? I mean, what time would you like to take lunch break? Class? I mean, I'm going to ask the entire class, but if they do not have any issues, we can take it whenever you guys prefer. Because this is not a set. One thing that you guys need to understand that we just set it up based on we thought that you would need a break. And if you think that you guys are tired, please speak out and let us know, because we want you to understand the material rather than just punishing you by holding you down and trying to the spoon feed you when you don't need it. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that you're relaxed and you understand. You're not tired. You're understanding what we're teaching you. So yeah, go ahead, Amit. The propose whatever time you want to take, and I'll ask the class if they want, if it's okay with them.
Now?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, class. I'm going to ask everyone. Is it okay, guys? We can go ahead and take a lunch break now.
Until one time, just want to break it. Until Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. 40 minutes. We'll take 40 minutes of lunch break.
Because we don't want to miss Dhuhr, that's why.
Yeah.
So Dhuhr is like 120 or whatever. 15.
Yeah, the 40 minutes. 120. Well, let's do it at 125. 125. Okay. We'll reconvene at 125, class. Okay. We'll come back and talk if we have any questions and others. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you and welcome back to the class. We're going to continue our class. Whoever joined and whoever didn't join yet, they can join within a few minutes. We're going to start discussing. So the document that I have created, I think I corrected the spelling error was on there, so you should see it on your Google Drive. Give me a second, class. 1 second. Sorry, class. I got disconnected, dropped off. So sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, so we're going to go back and discuss. As I mentioned that I have corrected the spelling error. Probably let me take a look, and I have uploaded that onto your Google Drive, so you should all have access to the document. If you did not receive the updated one, please let us know. We'll send out the updated document to you. Okay, looks like it is updated one. So we have completed our 2 days syllabus, and well, I would like to actually probably go ahead and show some of the test cases that you can write and practice, and probably whenever, like at the end of the session, I will create a homework assignment for you all, and it will be shared with you on the Google Drive, so you can do some of the homeworks next when the next week class starts. At this, we're going to go over this homework. What you can do is, like, you can write out of your best understanding what you understood, and there's nothing that's right or wrong. We want it to know that what level you are as far as understanding, so you can write those. I'm not gonna give you a big assignment. It's gonna be a simple assignment, and you can write based on your understanding, so we can kind of review it and work with you. Work with you on your needs. So, and towards the end of the session, I'll have my colleague and the trainer who's going to be teaching your EFT class next week. I'm gonna ask him to probably give you a little overview of what he's going to be doing on the next class. So I'm going to do that by around 2. So probably I'll have him in for half an hour, kind of go over with what he's going to be teaching. So any questions? If you have, you can post it up, or you can speak out that I can answer. If not, I mean, we're going to be reviewing that over and over. Basically, the manual testing is going to come when they're doing the automation, and they're going to be mentioning it. And you can ask them too, like, if you don't understand that. So manual testing, mostly, like as I said, the test cases is the key, and this is the one going to be basically automated. Test cases, the test execution process is going to be automated with these they use automation tools. Okay, I guess no question there, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next exercise session. Probably we'll do a little exercise here, creating test cases. Like, we can create test cases on the Cyberbullion site. So I'm going to go ahead, open up one of the documents that we have. I can create it on an Excel spreadsheet or Word, either or. So I'm going to go ahead, probably pull out a template and work on that, so we can kind of go over with how you can create a test case. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to fit 2 screens side by side, so that's the way we can better write out our test cases. So we are seeing it. Okay, this was a template that I shared with you all, and so in the subject we can write basically the project name, Cyberbullion. On the test case name, we'll name these test cases as a home page. So I can do CB underscore home. And I can insert another column next to it. Which is in Excel that you can do insert sheet column. So we can do that. I can just assign this as a test ID or TC underscore ID. Okay, we can do study CB underscore 001. Okay, so on that home page, in order for you to come to the home page, what you need to do. So basically, you need to launch web browser. You're launching your browser. So I'm just giving a generic statement. I'm not specifically telling that what browser that we need to launch. So I'll be doing a launch web browser. So since we do not have, if you have a requirement saying that IE, then you can launch IE browser. You know, or if you need a requirement says launch. I mean, if your requirement says the Chrome browser, then you'd say specifically launch Chrome browser. Browser shall launch. Then I'm going to insert another column. Actually, this is going to be another column: expected result, actual result. So this is our template. So for cyberbullying homepage, cyberbullying is a project. Then we get the test ID, which is test ID CB001, or you can do TC test case underscore CB001. So cyberbullying 001, or you can write TC test case homepage. So you can do HM. So however you feel comfortable to, as long as you know that this ID reflects to this name, however you want to do it, that's what, but you have to be consistent throughout the entire process. So if you write this, if you are identifying this homepage, TC ID, TC underscore HM001, then make sure everywhere you're referencing these, that you should have this ID go along with that. So TC001, then homepage, HM001, then you got step 1. These are the step numbers that you're going to be doing to execute or the get expected result for the homepage, what you are trying to expect. So launch browser shall launch, actual result. If it launches, so when I did, in my browser, I saw it automatically. So when I click on browser, like browser launch, Now, the next step would be enter URL. So if I enter URL here, HTTPS, so I'm going to provide the URL, HTTPS www.cyberbullying.com. So the second step would be mine, enter URL, www. Cyberbullying homepage shall display. Okay. So I'm going to enter this URL. I'll cancel out this tab. I'm going to enter this URL right here. So here we are. We enter this and we'll click go or hit enter. And I should see homepage. So it landed on a homepage. So first I launched browser. My browser launched, I'll say, passed. And second, when I did enter the URL, and cyberbullying homepage shall launch. So I get to the cyberbullying homepage. So that is also passed. Now, third thing we wanted to do based on the requirement, like anything as far as the graphical design or any of the graphics that we want to check, that we can write that out. Like, okay, so we landed on this end, and that we can do like Selenium. Selenium icon. Shall display on the home page. So in a description, basically, you're telling that what you should do. So you can do verify, or you can say you can do check or verify Selenium icon displays or shall display. In that case, I'll say displays on the home page. So when I come down here, I got to look for Selenium icon. So here's a Selenium icon image, or Selenium icon image, or icon, you can say icon to display. So if that's a requirement that this should be there, then that's what you should test. So on expected result, Selenium icon shall display. So what you're verifying, what you're expecting. So if the expected result matches your descriptions, then it passed. Okay, the fourth one, that I would say, okay, let me pull up another good example that we left it out intentionally. Okay, right here. So we wanted to show that, okay, the day in the life of SDET by Microsoft, like this one is a link. Like if you move your, if you hover over, you see that your pointer changes. So anytime pointer changes to hover over and you see some highlight, that means it shows that, you know, it's interactive element. But so there's an intent, maybe there's a requirement for when you click on this icon, it should take you somewhere. So if it doesn't take, oh, not this one actually, that's another one that we had. Oh, here, sorry. Watch more. I see that this is an example, and we left it intentionally to kind of give you an idea of what can be the error and what we wanted to tell you to look for. So like over here, if I click watch more, it's not doing anything. But if I hover over, if I move my cursor over and it highlights, that means it's an interactive element. So if you look at over here on this writing here, if I hover over, it doesn't do anything. So anything that you can move your mouse over and changes the appearance, like, or interact with your mouse, and if you're a pointer, if it changes to the straight arrow, like tip of the arrow to the hand sign, that means it's an interactive element. But that interactive element need to like when you're going to click on it, it should do some sort of function. So we can say here in our task, step 4, on that okay, we can say watch more button, verify watch more button views more information or picture. So to verify watch more. So this is a button, this is a web button actually here. So this button was left alone like that to intentionally not to work, so we can show some bugs that or the error that we have in our site that needed to be corrected. So verify watch more button, or you can say click on watch more button to view more of a picture. I can do this way. Click on watch more button to display more pictures or information. So when I do that, click watch more button. So my expected result should be user shall be able to view pictures or information. Okay, so let me clean this up. Okay, so here That's the test case that the test step I'm writing off of the homepage. The test case is homepage, and steps are these under the test case that we have the homepage that what we're testing. So this step over here, I'm verifying that click on watch more button to view more pictures, to display more pictures or information. So if I click on this one, it doesn't do anything for me. So when requirement says that you have the button there, you need to click on it to view more information or images, then it doesn't work that way. Your expected result was this, so user shall be able to view more pictures or information. So since you're not able to view or see anything with that button, so we can our actual result will be failed. So we found a bug. When we find a bug, what we need to do, we need to document the bug in a bug report earlier that I have shown, bug report template. So we're gonna basically write it out just like this on this one. The ID number, then we're gonna do the name over here would be, the ID would be, this is the ID, and this will be the name. Log it over here. Reporter would be my name. I'm doing it. So, and submitted date. If I submit it today, I'll submit it today. I'll write up a little summary here. You know, while I clicked on this and that, so it did not shows what I'm expecting to show. And then I'm going to provide the URL. So URL would be basically whatever the homepage URL. So if you copy this and paste it on that document, and the screenshots of your the defect that you have seen. So it doesn't show any error, it doesn't give you any message, but it doesn't mean that it's working. But it's not working, it's not taking you anywhere. So what you can do, you can just take the screenshot of this area and kind of highlight this on a. Well, let me try to take a screenshot on. Okay, screen. So what I'm going to do. The Microsoft operating system has a built-in tool called snipping tool. You can use the snipping tool, or you can use Paint also. And I'm going to bring it over here, and basically there's a Paint right here. So in a Paint, I can do a little work here, kind of highlight it. So I'm going to highlight this on a red, so it shows that this is the button that I'm talking about, and I can use the crop to kind of crop it and attach it to my report. So I can do crop it, copy it, and I can paste it. So let me pull up the document so I can kind of show you how you can do the reporting. 1 second, folks. Let me pull out that template. Okay, so I have a bug report template. So ID number, I'm going to type it out. Let me minimize this so it can work all in a mouse full screen. Okay, so my ID number, TC underscore HM 001, and the name of the module would be cb_home, and my name. Summary date is today 3/18, 2018. So I can write down when I click on let me see if I'm writing it down. Okay, watch more, actually not view more. I want to just TCH watch more button on the home page. It did not view any pictures or information. Okay, so I got a little summary over here. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead over here, copy and paste my URL, and I'll put it on that URL section, and then screenshot. I can either put here, or I can write a comment on the screenshot. See attached. The screenshots below. So I can either put a screenshot in there, or I can do, like, if I need to take multiple screenshots, then I can probably add below, because in the middle of a document, if you add it, like, it'll make it probably look, odd or not nice. So you can do it this way, or I'll just take this out, and I'm going to try to insert my screenshot over here and see how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead, crop it from here. So what I would do is just click on copy and go back to my Word document, and over here I'll just right click and do a paste. Okay, see that? So that kind of captured my screenshot right there. So it's telling me exactly the screenshot where is the defect. So I do that. Then platform that I tested, platform was Windows platform. And operating system was, my operating system was Windows 10, Windows 10. Then I can say also, let me check my operating system so I can give more details on that. So that might be matter too, if there's a needed. Okay, so Windows 10 home and business. So there's a home and business out there. Home, and my a version of my system. Okay, let's see, Professor. Oh, okay. Yeah, the home, it doesn't tell. So 2017 Microsoft Corporation, all right. Okay, it doesn't say, but I can also provide the specification if needed to, like operating system, what precision that I have, 64-bit, 32-bit Windows 10 home, 64, I would say 64 bit system. 64-bit, and if I need to provide more details to, like, I can say 8 GB 8 GB RAM. So yeah, that's what you can provide. And the browser that I use, Chrome, and what the browser version is that I tested on, like for example, I could say whatever version you're testing on, you can get information from here. About Google Chrome, so you would get that information. Actually, it'll tell what version your version 64 dot whatever. I got 64 point whatever is in there, so that shows that information. So you can collect that. I'll just write down 64. So that's the way you know that we test on 64. Chrome, if you write down 64, it tells you that it's in version 64. Okay, so I'm not gonna go on further details, and like I'm gonna try to finish up this severity level. This is not a major because it's not showstopper. I would say minor, and assign to that. Okay, our next trainer, Greg Mia. Okay, I'm going to assign to the priority level. It's not a high priority because the severity level is a minor, so I would say a low priority on this one based on that. And then I'm going to write description again over here and a step to reproduce. So step to reproduce basically write down same step that we have done on our test cases, like how you get to there, and then from there you have this. So these steps going to be written down on our document step to reproduce over here, then expected result, what we are expecting, and actual result, what we found. So basically that's from the test cases, it's coming from here, going over here. So how to go back to that. So with that said, I'm going to actually go ahead and invite our the trainer that who's going to be teaching and training your the next class starting next Saturday, UFT Unified Functional Testing. So he's going to describe some of the stuff going over, and he will also elaborate on the manual testing, that why manual testing you need to know to do automation and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'm going to be Greg Mia, if you are on the line, and I'm going to probably make you a presenter, so you can do a little presentation and tell the class that what you're going to be teaching starting next Saturday, and we'll go from there. So class, I'm gonna send out the homework assignment today. Sometime, hopefully I won't be that late. We'll try, because since we got everything set up. So basically, you're going to be creating, maybe testing our site, what I just did now. You're going to be doing that, and you're going to be creating a bug report, write it out, and you can assign to me all this bug to like assigner. You can put my name on there, and I can review it, look at it, and see what your understanding level, and if I need to work on one-on-one or everyone in a group, then I can do that again. So if you guys have any question, I'm going to take a few questions. But if you have any, please feel free to ask questions. If not, that I can go back and kind of highlight on our the syllabus. So we covered up what is software testing, and we covered up why software testing is necessary. What is SDLC, what is SDLC, and test plan, test cases, requirement traceability metrics, defect logs, and so basically this is all going to be your homework. Like you're going to be writing a little paragraphs, maybe, you know, what your understanding of what is software testing, why software testing is necessary, and what is SDLC, what is SDLC, you know, what is test plan, what is test cases. So this is a document. I'm gonna post it out to the Google Drive. You all gonna receive it, and you can do it by next week, so before we start the next class. Okay, I see that there's a question probably in a chat. Okay, I have one page. Okay, what is, okay. Okay, so the question, the bug report template would be for each error found in our test, or we can together. No, you can do multiple bug report, but individually given a bug report is that's what preferred by the developers. So that's why what happened. You can assign one bug to one developer. You can have multiple developers developing different areas of the application. Maybe the one that developed it, you found that bug for that developer. So how are you going to assign in one document multiple bug reports? If this is for same developer worked on it, and if you wanted to do it like on one, they can do one. And creating a multiple the bug report is not that hard, because once you got the template, you just copy, paste, and do how I did it, and submit it to them. So most preferred that bug report should be reported once. So that's why the stories are break down into like a small person, like, you know, just a one module at a time. That's why when you go on a real world environment, you'll see that maybe one word need to change. Maybe like for example, if you have a title here, a course schedule, instead of a course schedule, if this need to change to a class schedule, then it'll have a story that the course schedule, the header need to change to class schedule. So that's going to be a minor one story, like a small story. So that's how it's broken down to, so developers can develop each one. So in one page, multiple developers can work, because the different stories it's picked up by different developers, then they can work on it. So you cannot just assign all bugs in one template. That's why it's preferred each bug reported separately as a one template. Okay, so hope that answers the question. Let me see. Okay, I mean, can we? Yeah, the multiple error. That's why I said like a multiple error cannot be. Yeah, so I hope that it's just to understand. All right, thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead make Greg me a presenter. He's gonna go with the information that what he's going to be teaching next week. And guys, until then, I'll be probably seeing you towards the end of the course. But I'll be joining the class. All of us are joining, pretty much in the session. All 6 of our trainers are actively involved in it, watching, monitoring, and taking notes of what not needed for you guys to provide you guys help. So I'll be joining probably next 2 weeks. I will be out, and our other trainers going to be doing their sessions, and I'll be joining you guys back. So Greg Mia, if you're there, let me go ahead and make you a presenter, and I'll let you do a little.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Yeah, so I hope the class does too. So I'm going to make you, I'm making you a presenter, okay? Yeah. You can share your screen. And class, I'm going to be with you guys too. So at the end of the session, Greg me are going to have the floor now, and you're going to talk about the EFT, and you're going to probably elaborate some of it on the minimum testing. Why is it necessary for the automation testing, okay? So our focus is more on automation, and so you guys stay tuned and listen. So Greg Mia, you do have you are the presenter now, so you can share your screen.
It's making me
Organize.
It's making me add in or something. Okay, there we go. Share.
Yeah, I think probably add in records. Just go ahead, yeah, do it. See if it. Okay, we can see you. Okay.
Just one comment, brother Murshid, if you
Sure.
don't mind, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, part of the manual testing is the documentation. So the just a piece brother Murshid went through this is very important, and the written communication is a core piece of the manual testing. Since most of us here in the call are English as the second language for us, so just as a reminder, if you get any chance, you just focus on the written communication, guys, so you can express yourself better in documenting all this, the text script, the steps, and scenario, and all the bug report. So this could be understandable for the dev team to solve the problem.
Correct. Yeah, this is very good. Yes, I mean English is our second language, even though we are working there too. But a lot of time we have hard time kind of expressing by writing communication. Like maybe what I write, I understand. Maybe if you read it, you would understand differently. So the developers may have problems. So yeah, writing communication, yeah, email communications, you can improve upon as you write and see if it makes sense. Or before you send it out, you can do the review. Your own review with your classmates, review with your someone at home, how you're writing and stuff. So yeah, writing communication, yes, definitely would help. But even though a lot of time that you can probably work in a group, and if somebody working remotely from a different state or different location, that you have to send out email, or the report should be like when you're writing it, it should be precise and clear to understand. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Greg. Greg, you go ahead, please give the lesson. So till then, I'll go on mute.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Mia. I have over 20 years of IT experience and about 18 years of test automation experience. I use tools such as WinRunner way back in the early 2000s. Now I'm using to Quick Test Pro, LoadRunner. Now, which is QTP, which is now known as UFT, Unified Functional Testing. So those are just some things that I've been doing. From Murshid's lesson plans, we learned that manual testing can be very tedious, but it is a necessary evil, as seen. It can be a very lucrative career. And everyone needs testing. So every company, if you're developing software or any type of product, you're going to need some type of testing or quality assurance. Can everyone see I hope everyone can see the Amazon.com screen. I'm just going to walk through the parts of test automation, that make it so much easier to use. We can get a lot more done in a short amount of time compared to what manual testing can do. Like I said, the process that Murshid went through can be very tedious. But what if we could take those steps and either record, or we can put those steps in a tool that can run them in an automated fashion, so we can get those steps done much quicker. So when we think about test automation, one thing you want to always think about is that the test needs to be repeatable. Okay, so from this point on, think of when you guys are developing your test cases, ask yourself, is this step or is this test repeatable? So for instance, right now I'm on the login screen for Amazon.com, and if I'm a tester for Amazon.com, I want to create separate. I want to make my test automation scripts modular. Okay, so think of your websites or your applications that you're going to test. Think of them on a modular basis. So the different components of an application. So you log in, and then maybe we create an order, or no, we search for an item, and then we add that item to our cart. That's a process. Each one of those steps might have a different page. Then we go to the cart, or we might want to continue shopping. That's something you have to think about in automation, is breaking down everything into components. So, for instance, if we were to automate this login process right here for Amazon.com, we want to make sure that it's a repeatable process. But for our test automation scripts, if we have multiple scripts can use this login procedure. So what we're going to learn is how to create our test modularly, and we'll create a separate function for logging in. That'll allow us to, say if we have 100 tests that all use this one login function, we can make, and say Amazon all of a sudden changes their implementation for logging in, right? Say they add a little CAPTCHA item at the bottom where you have to check that you're not a robot or something, and we need to check that box, or anything changes on the page. They change just the description of the password box or the username box. We can make the change to one function, and we don't need to go and update, say, 100 different tests. We can update the one function, and all the tests that point to that one function will be updated at one time. A big problem that I've seen throughout the industry, and when people do automation, or when you go into other companies that aren't as mature when it comes to automation, is that they have these one-off scripts, and these tools give us the ability to record and playback. So say if I were to record this, I had a script, say I created 50 different scripts that all do different types of testing within Amazon.com, and each of my 50 scripts logs in individually. So I just have each of the 50 scripts logs in individually. If that breaks or they change the implementation, then I have to go back and fix 50 scripts. It's very inefficient, right? So, like again, we want to make sure that we're creating modular tests, and we're going to focus on that, doing it like in an expert way. And a lot of these times with these HP tools can be very expensive. So HP Unified Functional Testing, QuickTest, formerly known as QuickTest Pro, well, the licenses can be super expensive for companies, and they'll purchase them, and they end up becoming what's known as shelfware. So you get untrained individuals that come in and say, oh, we have 100 so test scripts, but they're all broken, because they just go and record their scripts, and they're using a record and playback method. And once one thing breaks, they don't want to take the time to go and debug all those scripts. It can be very tedious. That's why we use test automation frameworks. Shamsu and the rest of the trainers, what we develop are data-driven, keyword. We develop hybrid frameworks, so we use keyword, data-driven frameworks. I'll get into a little bit. A data-driven framework is where you actually parameterize your script. So you can use a spreadsheet or like a text file to read in your data. And say we just want to run through Amazon.com and we want to test that we make sure we get the correct error messages, so that's negative testing. So say I enter an incorrect password right here, and I want to make sure that the correct error message pops up. So I can have a whole spreadsheet that can have valid logins and it can have invalid logins, and then for those invalid logins, we can go and test those error messages come up. So for instance, if I type here, the incorrect password and try to log in, hopefully it'll give me the wrong. Okay, there was a problem. Your password is incorrect. See, we want to make sure that's negative. That's called negative testing. We want to make sure that the error messages that we're expecting pop up. So now I'll go and log in. But again, we want to make sure. Let's go home. Let's go to home. Oh, there we go. All right, so we just had the home screen. All right. So anyway, back to the login. So we want to make sure that we're creating these data-driven frameworks. We can test many permutations of data at one time. Again, so we can check error messages and so forth. So for instance, again, if you want to check like logins, or we want to check that, say we want to search for many different things, say bicycles, or we want to search for TVs or computers or speakers or anything that you can search for on Amazon, makeup, you know, we want to go and make sure that when we search through in the search box at the top here, that we can run through many different permutations of data and that the expected results come up. So again, that's where the test steps come in that Murshid was talking about in manual testing. And then we can verify that that same expected result comes up after we type the item that we're searching for. So for instance, if we're searching for TVs, okay, we can search for LED TVs and so forth, and just make sure that the expected results come up. You know, say if they change the database and they want a particular TV to come up, when we put that search result TV in there, we want to make sure that this TCL TV came up when we're doing the search. Our automation tools have what are called checkpoints. In Selenium, they're known as asserts. So we can assert that something is true. And checkpoints in UFT verify that something shows up on the screen. We can also do text checkpoints, or we can write logic into our tests using VB script to say, make sure that this text appears on the screen, within the screen. You know, make sure that this price is correct. The price before was $289.99. Make sure that the price is now $249.99 on Amazon.com. Right? Let me see. All right, so as we step through, we'll go back to the home screen. So again, so if we were to create a test today, we would start with the login functionality, and we would parameterize that. So the username and password would be parameterized. That way we can use different names. Then when we came here and we wanted to perform a search, we could go parameterize that value. So some people might have requirements that they need to look for TVs and they need to search for a certain item. Some might have that they need to search for makeup or basketball, soccer balls, any item, you know. So these are something that the automation engineers at Amazon need to think about as well. So we'll just click on a TV model. So when we click on this link, so we can make our test dynamic as well. So we can have it click on, say, this first link that appears, and have it click on this model, and then we can make sure that it comes up, check for certain things on the screen, images, different sizes that are available, and then we can go ahead and click add to cart. Let me make sure I don't buy this by accident. So I don't need any more TVs. So I can click. So after we click that, we can make sure that the next item pops up. See, these are all individual steps. So we want to think about our test modularly again. So each of these will be broken down into separate functions, right? So here we might want to say, no, thanks, we don't need the. Now, the last step, we might want to go to the cart, right? Or proceed to checkout. Okay, we can see my personal information. Yeah, so we'll go back. And then we can go view the cart. And again, each of these will be broken down into separate functionalities. Say we want to change the quantity here. This would also be a separate function here on this page. Or we might want to delete it, delete this item, start all over again, right? So returning back to the home page, that's a separate functionality, you know, part of the application. So if any of this stuff changes, we want to make sure that we can easily go back and reprogram that one function and start all over. I mean, program that one function without having to recreate the entire test. Say if they don't, like I said, if they change the login functionality. Say they move this, say they change this search functionality and it's no longer recognized. We keep everything modular again. Anything else you guys want me to cover, Murshid? For now, so that's basically what we'll get into, teach you guys how to basic logic for programming, such as like VB script. I encourage everyone to look up on logic statements. So if then statements, if then else statements in VB script. for loops. So conditional looping. So you have what are called for loops. You have while loops, do while loops. Those are things that we use on an everyday basis. Because what happens if something appears on the screen or it doesn't? We want to program that logic into our test. If something shows up, maybe something unexpected might show up, like an error pops up every once in a while. We want to account for those type of errors and make sure that they're handled within our test automation scripts. All right.
Whatever Greg Mia is mentioning, Greg, sorry to interrupt you. Whatever Greg Mia is mentioning to look into those, as you start doing it, like as Greg Mia would walk you through the whole process, it'll be easier for you. But he was saying that kind of when he's doing it, pay attention to it and also practice and look at those references, how it can be implemented on the script. So if our statement, while loop, do loop, like looping, basically, you want to do the same thing over and over with a multiple data set and stuff like that. So you put that on a loop. So instead of going back, like manual testing, you're going to go back and open up again and do it again. So if you put it on a loop, it execute iteratively like one after another and kind of does it for you. So those are the you have to think as you as he start doing teaching the course, you'll learn a lot and you'll find it easier because Greg Mia is a very good explainer and a teacher as far as the automation goes. I get a chance to work with him in our team actually when he came and joined us. So back about 5 years, a little more than probably 5 years ago. And definitely you guys would be get great benefit out of this course. And Greg Mia is also willing to work with you all on getting you the understanding level to learn the EFT and the automation. So, and he has said, like, he's been mentioning again and again the manual testing. Like I said, the manual testing that we keep it short, so we just want to give you the heads of what is testing like and of what is the manual testing, and it's going to be basically manual testing going to be transformed into the automation. Without the manual testing, there is no automation, so the manual testing is the base, and then from that, it's automation tools actually execute those same test process and steps to automate it to make it easier on the manual testers.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna say. So again, focus on the repeatable tests, everyone. So we don't want to automate something that's going to be done one time, right? It doesn't bias anything. When you think of automation, you want to think of return on investment. So ROI, in the industry, you're gonna hear the term ROI a lot. So your return on investment. How much time are we spending on creating these automated tests, and what are we getting from them? So at CBP, Shamsu and I have created hundreds and thousands of tests that are reused on a daily basis now, and they're saving these manual testers hundreds and thousands of man hours in terms of testing. So what would take someone maybe a week to test, we can use these test automation scripts and run test something in a few hours. Actually, something that's super tedious for these manual testers to do. They can be off doing other things, doing what's called ad hoc testing, which means trying to find those one-off bugs, that might, someone might click around or choose a drop down here or a radio button there, and it might just cause an error somewhere that's unexpected. That's called ad hoc testing. Test automation gives, it buys a lot of time and gives, the manual testers other things to focus on. Again, manual testing can be tedious, but it is lucrative, like we mentioned. But test automation is that much more lucrative in terms of career-wise. Again, like taking screenshots, little things like that, sending these bug reports to the developers. All that can be done by test automation. When we get a bug on the screen, something doesn't show up. So say the login, when I did the incorrect login and the error message didn't pop up as expected, we can take a screenshot of that and send it, attach it to and email the test results to the developers or the stakeholders for that application and notify them, this doesn't match up with our expected result. So again, just like manual testing, automation has expected results, and again, it's repeatable. So A majority of the time, we're doing what's called regression testing. So with test automation, you're doing regression testing. These tests have already been established and run on a manual basis by the manual testers. We're taking those tests and then automating them so they don't have to keep doing it over and over. A regression test, so I mean, everyone take note of this so you're going to know about regression testing, is we want to make sure that the application didn't degrade after some new code is introduced. So say for instance on this, so say back to the Amazon login screen, currently we're able to log into the application without any issues. Say they add a CAPTCHA to make sure that you're not a robot on the login screen, and it requires you to click a checkbox there. We want to make sure that that checkbox, like that we can check that checkbox and the application continues to function as it did before. We want to make sure that it didn't regress, okay? So we want to make sure that the application continues to function as it did before, except for that one change. With development like CI/CD process, where the testers are working like hand in hand with the development team, those tests, we can actually even do functional testing where we're developing the test at the same time as we're developing the application. This requires us to know a lot more about the application and the way it's developed. So each of the items that you see on the screen, such as the login button, all the input fields and all those things, those have descriptions that the web page uses to generate the web page. That it's HTML or HTML5 or whatever language it's developed in. It has a description, so we have like a HTML ID or a name assigned to these to a majority of the objects. Hopefully, it makes the application much easier to automate. And if you work closely with developers, so in the future, when you guys are working your automation jobs and you're working with your development teams, you want to make sure that if they have an object and they want to give them those descriptive properties, so you want to give them HTML ID or name property, something to uniquely identify those objects on the screen. It makes automation much easier, makes your life more simple. You know, it just makes life easier for everyone, because if one of those things changes, then there's going to be breakage there. Or if they keep renaming things, you know, can cause issues. But that's why it's good right from the beginning. If you have automation, you want to work closely with your development team, help them establish, you know, a framework again to develop the application, and we want to establish a framework developing the test automation as well. That's all I have, Murshid, for now. Unless you guys have any questions.
All right, Greg, thank you. Yeah, I'll ask the attendees if you have any questions for Greg Mia. If not, then I'll just probably ask you some questions. So do you guys have any questions? If not, you know, I'll ask you that if you have received if you have installed or downloaded Google Hangout and also the Google Drive on your devices, like the computer that you're going to be using, so you can have access to those materials. So if you haven't done it, or if you have any difficulties, please let us know. And also, we're planning to start installing the UFT on your machine. So we're working on that, and we'll be reaching out. I think we sent out the schedule, what time will be available. So if any one of you available within that time frame, please let us know. Send us an email, and so we can probably sit down with you or in the group, open up a session, and we can help you install the tool and get you ready for the next class, so you can start playing with it too. So our plan is like we're going to be installing a virtual machine on your machine, and on that machine we're going to be installing that tool if that works that way, or the alternative would be directly installing on your machine. So please let us know whatever time you're available, and we're working on that to kind of test it out. So we'll be starting from today, tomorrow, and I mean before the next class. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself, ask questions. If not, I mean, we have overlapped about 3 minutes. I hope that you guys are not kind of too tired to feel bored about it. Like I said, we have provided you a lot of information within the last couple of days, and don't get overwhelmed by that information. Yes, those necessary to know, but you don't have to memorize all that. You know, as you go, and even if when you get into the environment, you'll learn it, and you'll learn over and over. You're going to hear that over and over throughout the entire automation process too. So the manual testing and what it is and stuff like that. So basically, the test cases, how it's processed from test cases to the script, test script, and how the Greg was saying the modular base, like, you know, it's going to break it down to each module, so that's the way it's easier to maintain, and you don't have to, if the test breaks and automation scripts, you don't have to change a whole lot of things just to change in one place onto that module of that particular one. So yeah, you're going to learn all these benefits that you're going to get, and we're focusing on automation. The reason, because there's a market for automation, I mean, with a high salary range. That's why we decided to focus on that. But still, on the other side, again, if somebody wants to do manual testing, like we said, manual testing also needed and necessary there. It doesn't mean the automation is going to get rid of all the manual testers. No, because test automation cannot be done 100%. So some of the testing needed to be done manually. So if somebody wanted to stick with the manual testing, also there's an opportunity, and manual testers are also making over 100K that we know of. So, you know, automation testers may probably making more money than the manual testers, but there's the manual testers also making about 100K or more too. So since you joined, and I would like to say that, you know, continue the class, and then you'll be learning at somewhere, and some companies as a QA engineer, definitely. There's no doubt about it. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions about today's session, or next week's session. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and our class today for this weekend, and we'll reconvene on next Saturday at 10 a.m. and that'll be the same schedule, and the break time can be depending on instructors and you guys. So although we set up a time, but you know, we can always work that out with the class. So is there any questions? If not, I'll give you guys, think of any questions you can put on the chat box. If not, then until next week, you all have a good weekend, and some homework's coming on your way. I'm going to send it out right now, right after the class. It's going to be on the Google Drive. So you guys are going to get a link, actually send it to your email for now. And also, if you have a Google Hangouts installed, we're going to try to implement on that too. So you guys are going to get a message, try to access that document, and please do the homework. The homework will give us kind of understanding that what level of understanding you have on the materials or on the techniques that we are teaching. Our goal is to get you successful, so please help us to help you. All right, then. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for joining the class, and looking forward to see you guys in the next class. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. See you too.
Yes, Greg, I'm gonna call him. Okay. I'm gonna call him.
Thank you. Thank you.